this year. The draft itself is terrible, and the fact that they're doing it in 2 nights, tomorrow night is going to be lower rated than a summer repeat. For those of you who are old enough to remember that TV shows used to have new shows during the year and repeats during, this is going to be worse than a summer repeat of LA Law in 1989. That's what it's going to be worse than. LA Law, by the way. Well, we should play this on the show. LA Law had the best saxophone open to a theme song in the history of theme songs.
Did you not just hear Andy Herman said he's still going to be watching the second round
tomorrow
of the NBA
night?
draft?
No, you're not.
I'll absolutely be
you're
watching.
not.
I love a good draft.
No, you will have it on.
I can't pass it up.
You will have it on. You will not be watching.
So here's the truth of the matter. I will tell you this wholeheartedly. In any normal situation, I would be watching it probably in its entirety. Tomorrow, because I've got, again, the trip coming up next week. I have a podcast that I have to record with Dusty. We also got haircuts for the kids that are during it. When I am home, there's probably about an hour window that I have. I will absolutely be watching it. But there's a lot of time that I actually will not be able to tomorrow. Tonight, I'll be watching it in its entirety. Yeah. I will not miss a second of tonight's.
Yeah, I will miss many seconds of tonight's. Tonight is the Whitefish Bay Ice Cream Social. So I'm officially inviting everyone out there who's listening in Andy Herman and Mason Crosby land, that if you find yourself in Whitefish Bay between 6 and 8 this evening, I don't want to say rain or shine because it actually stormed last week, but it looks like it's gonna the rain's gonna hold off. Ice Cream Social in Whitefish Bay this evening from 6 to 8, and then whenever I get home, I'll turn it on. But I mean, listen, we all know the first pick, as it should be, Cooper Flagg, and then after that, like, is Kunkkaneppel really gonna go 4th? He could.
He might.
Like that's exciting. Good for him.
This is why it's a great draft.
Yeah, well, that's why.
On the first day.
And the first 4 picks, and then after that.
Hey, the Bucks are only on day 2 of the draft, so that's the only thing we got going for us now.
Right, and again, it's someone's name who will never need to learn and will never need to know because he's never going to play.
The Bucks are just such good drafters, though, guys, that you just never know what could possibly come out of that pick. It's just
I'm throwing up in my mouth right now.
They're due. We'll put it that way. They're due for like a Michael Redd second round pick. They're absolutely due for it.
But
so,
Andy, they
drafted
Dirk Nowitzki, so they're the best. Blah blah blah.
No, they're a terrible draft. I mean, they've been god awful. It's Giannis and a bunch of hot garbage basically since then. But
Marcus
Hayslip
Hayslip is not walking through that door, Andy.
Sean Respert could be here any moment.
Yarborough.
Yijian Lian, we got Joe Alexander. Hey,
Andy, most random jersey in my closet. I have a Chinese national team jersey of Yijian Lian. I bought it the year he got drafted because I thought if he turns out big, like I'll be able to flip this and this will be worth. It was an investment purchase, not. But now I should wear it. Although as Americans, do we hate China? Like, can I not wear it now? Like, what are the rules on wearing an Yijian Lian?
That's above my pay grade, my friend.
Chinese,
that is above my pay grade.
Do I have to get somebody from the political spectrum on for that?
There's got to be somebody at the station that covers politics in some way, shape, or form.
No, we don't do politics here. We're just all music and sports.
All right, then
politics is across the street.
All right, well, there you go. At least you have a within distance or whatever.
That's right.
I would love to know what the go-to ice creams for your ice cream social, but we got to get out of here. I know you got a great show lined up, so I will let you take it from here, Mitch. Enjoy the show today, and we'll talk again tomorrow.
Sounds good. Great job, Andy.
Appreciate you. That is, of course, our producer, Tommy, Mitch Thunder Nelles. Make sure to listen to him for the remainder of the show here until 11 a.m. today. You can find the Pack-A-Day podcast 365 days a year wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow with Matt Freilich. This has been the Pack-A-Day radio show. Enjoy the heck out of your Wednesday. And, of course, go Pack Go.
Good morning and welcome in. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee, like Big Voice Lady just told you. My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. No Mason on a Human Wednesday. He is humaning it up. He's got his honey-do list from Molly. We will get a full report, including what boxes he checked and what things he missed on tomorrow's show. But today, as we told you would happen, as you already knew would happen, the Milwaukee Brewers won a baseball game yesterday. They lost game one against Pittsburgh, probably a game they should, well, I don't want to say they shouldn't have lost, but they should have tied at least. And they come back yesterday, and top of the second inning, Pittsburgh loads the bases with nobody out, and it could have gone one of two ways. Well, it didn't go crooked number. Freddie worked his way out of it. No runs put up on the board, and literally and in the middle of the second inning, you knew the Milwaukee Brewers were going to win that game. And our conquering hero, the greatest slugging shortstop in the history of June 24th, 2025, the only shortstop in Major League Baseball history to hit 2 home runs yesterday in Major League Baseball, Joey is the man.
RBIs is Ortiz out to left again, headed towards that pen. Goodbye. Ortiz, second of the night.
I mean, was that not just like such a feel-good moment yesterday?
That is it. That is the perfect. Tommy Wirtz is here, super producer, host of the Leadoff Show, does a million other things here at the station. He's like the MVP of everything that happens here at the Fan, and you couldn't have hit the nail more squarely on the head with describing that as feel-good moments for Joey last night.
Well, and this is a guy who, obviously, I've talked about it with Drew Wagner, and, I go over a lot of the current events happening with the Milwaukee Brewers on the Leadoff Show every day. We got the show at 12 o'clock today in anticipation for Paul Skeens versus Jacob Mizorowski. But yesterday, I was talking with Drew, and you can see Joey Ortiz is having a phenomenal week before that game yesterday, even. Yes. I think he had 12 hits over the last 7 games. He's batting like 440 over that time as well. And you could see the week before that Joey Ortiz was getting really unlucky on a lot of batted balls as well, too.
Yes.
Not necessarily that everything should have been a hit, but you could see him working through a lot of different progressions throughout the season. And I asked Drew Wagner, hey, is Joey Ortiz like getting better? And is this really what we're expecting to see out of Joey Ortiz now this year? And Drew pretty much broke it down like this, saying that, hey, at the end of the year, Joey Ortiz is going to have terrible numbers. He's going to have bad numbers because he had such a terrible start to this season. But now you have to look at it in chunks with Joey Ortiz. And this chunk right now, over 8 games, is phenomenal from him. And if he can, looking at what the Brewers have done over the last, they're 19-8 over their last, how many games is that? 27 games?
Yep.
Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, the bottom part of the order is stepping up that you could not have expected from this Milwaukee Brewers team right now.
Exactly right.
And when they are at the top of their game, it's motivating everyone else. I mean, Christian Yelich, everyone knows he's on a tear right now. Bryce Terang quietly with a double-digit hit streak now going on, too. This is really the offense. If the Brewers play like this on the offensive side during the season, during a game, they have a crazy ceiling right now.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. Joey Ortiz has now climbed up to 4th worst OPS in Major League Baseball from last. Luis Rengifo with the Angels is horrible. Brenton Doyle, I've never even heard of from Colorado. And 3rd worst.
Brenton Doyle is the guy who crushes the Brewers every time on Colorado. Oh, my God. Insane numbers against the Brewers.
And the man that Joey passed last night to get into 4th worst, Brian Hayes from Pittsburgh, who's a very highly touted prospect, a couple of years ago, and just trying to find his way, I guess.
Kind of got paid and then didn't really do anything from there, but he did like a Churio deal, like an 8-year, $64 million thing where you could go for a little bit, but it hasn't really worked out.
So I could actually argue that Joey Ortiz's numbers by the end of the year, I don't think could be they could be not great, but if he hits in the 240s. Right? If he gets to 10 home runs, he's scored 31 runs. If he scores 60 runs from the 9 spot, he's got 8 stolen bases. He steals 15 bases. Like, you hit 240 with 10 homers, 15 steals, scoring 60 runs from the 9 spot. That's not unplayable. Because over the first 2 months of the year, he was unplayable. Like, they would have been better with pretty much anyone else out there.
Sure.
And the tear he's been in and the June he's put together, he's made himself at least serviceable that in a game like last night, where, again, the Brewers escape from the top of the second, they do not give up runs, and then Joey hits 2 bombs. He and Durbin go back-to-back. We were literally, like, texting each other about other stuff as Durbin hit that bomb, and then Joey hit his second. We're like, okay, Joey, have a day. Like, if they're going to do that once every 15 games, once every 10 games, like that is more than enough from your 8 and 9 hitters to have a stellar offense.
I did say yesterday, as I was texting with Sparky, that in games where Caleb Durbin and Joey Ortiz hit back-to-back home runs, I guarantee the Brewers will be undefeated in a ball game.
Wow.
I mean, just that. And as soon as I said that, then, of course, the 3-run homer happened from Freddie Peralta, which was really the only blemish on yesterday's game. But, I mean, the Brewers' offense, we all know it's very inconsistent, right? It's a roller coaster of an offense. But right now, they are riding that high, and they continue to go up to the top. And hopefully, it just continues to go from there. And it's really being led by, veteran Christian Yelich having an insane month right now. Insane month out of Christian Yelich. And he really picked up a lot of slack for Contreras, who's really still fighting through his hand injury. Hoskins has slowed down quite a bit, too. But when you're talking about Frelick, Yelich, Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz, this is the best stretch of the season they've had so far.
How different of a feel is it when Freddie makes that one mistake and they give up a 3-run homer, but when Joey and Durbin are doing what they're doing and the offense is clicking and they put on more runs versus when a guy like Chad Patrick right now is struggling and he gives up one mistake, but it feels bigger, right? Like it feels like Freddie can give up one. And now, do we want Freddie giving up 3-run homers? No. Memo to the Brewers pitching staff, give up solo home runs. Like if you're going to give up a home run, make that mistake when there aren't players on base. It's much better for the fans, like hearts, blood pressure, and those sorts of things. If you give up a solo home run, stop giving up 3-run homers. But how different does it feel with Freddie, who we know is an ace, or even Mizorowski when he gives up the 2-run homer in Minnesota when they're already up big? Versus it just seems like when Chad Patrick's giving up a big hit the past 3 or 4 starts, it's in the middle of a tight game. And maybe all Chad Patrick needs to get back to right is the offense to score 8 runs in the first 4 innings and just have one of those games where you can go out and experiment and make a couple mistakes, but still cruise to a victory, as opposed to it seems like every time Chad Patrick pitches, it's a tight, close game, and every pitch has to be perfect, and that's not really fair to him.
Right. And Chad Patrick, I mean, you got to remember, he's a rookie. He's made 17 starts already for this team this year. His ERA...
That's a lot of starts.
It's a lot of starts. No one was expecting that out of Chad Patrick this season.
He wasn't supposed to make the starting rotation.
Right. No one knew this guy. No one knew this guy coming into the Milwaukee Brewers season. He's got a 3.72 ERA so far,
which is still not bad.
Still very good.
Not sub-3 like he was.
Right.
But overall, if you had told me halfway through the season, Chad Patrick, who we've never heard of before really, was going to have a 3.72 ERA, I would have said, you know what? Slot him as the 4 or 5. I'll take it.
Right. I will say that I do think, unfortunately, the 3 bad starts in a row, I think he's got one more start left as a Milwaukee Brewer. I think
unless Woodruff gets hurt again.
Right. 100%. Completely understand. It's hard to really speculate anything that goes on in Brandon Woodruff's future just with how unlucky he has been. And speaking of, did you see your boy Garrett Mitchell as well, who is also got injured and is going to probably need surgery on his shoulder.
I saw that he got hurt. Yes. I didn't see surgery.
It's the same shoulder he had surgery on earlier, and he's probably going to have surgery because he lost like some anchors or something in there. It sounded really painful on top of that.
That sounds terrible.
But I still think that Chad Patrick is now going to be this odd man out for the Milwaukee Brewers because we talked about it, countless times on how crowded this pitching staff is going to be at some point during this season because Woodruff was anticipated to come back. Nestor Cortez still hanging out around. They had Aaron Savali at the time. Obviously, they've made a little bit of room in that rotation now because of that.
Sure.
But there's still a guy like Tobias Myers still in AAA right now, and Logan Henderson, who's still in AAA right now. And if they want to bring Woodruff back and bring him back starting in a rotation, they're going to have to either move Chad Patrick to the bullpen and move on from someone in the bullpen, or Chad Patrick, more likely, because of his minor league option situation, will be back down in AAA, I think, after one more start, because Woodruff is joining Nashville this weekend in Jacksonville.
414-677-1250 is the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line here on the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles. 414-677-1250. What are your expectations for Jacob Misiorowski and Paul Skeens today? Among all Major League Baseball games today, it does have the lowest over-under betting odds courtesy of our friends at Potawatomi Sports.
Can I guess? I haven't looked.
Sure.
Is it 7?
No.
6.5?
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
6.5 is
awesome.
A crazy over-under. Every other game, I'm trying to think, are there any games that are even at 7? We have a couple 7.5s. We have 1 7. I don't know who's pitching for the Marlins and the Giants tonight.
Logan Webb, maybe?
Yeah, so Marlins and Giants is at 7. By the way, Dodgers and Rockies is 11. Take the over in that one.
I mean, I almost want to bet the under on 6.5 just to root for it. And I told Andy Herman this when we were talking about it on Pack Day Radio. I want the first hit to come in the 8th inning of this game.
That would be just extraordinary.
It would be so awesome to see this matchup live up to this hype right now, because this is so much attention on Milwaukee Brewers baseball for a 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon game in June right now. And I think that it would be so cool to see this matchup just exceed all expectations, which they're so high already. And to see that under of 6.5 at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, I almost want to bet that under and just see. Let's get it way under. Let's never have it in doubt.
What's funny is that because it's 6.5, I almost want to bet the over just to be a little bit of a contrarian, and because it's so low that I just feel like, listen, Misiorowski can't keep throwing pellets. The Brewers have seen Skeens a bunch. The last time he pitched against the Brewers, it was a 5-4 game, and at some point, you get into Pittsburgh's bullpen, where you doubt Skeens is going 8 or 9 in this one. So I think like my logic cap says, oh, you take the over, but I, like you, am also cheering for the under, no doubt about it. Which is so counter like everything we do in society, right? Every time we see over-unders, especially in basketball, we're always cheering for the over. It's counterintuitive.
You want offense.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not fun cheering against teams scoring.
Right.
But first of all, in baseball, it's a little bit different. But with this matchup, you're absolutely right. If we get to see the pitching duel that we all think we could see,
right.
I mean, that is just special with a capital SPECIAL.
And I don't know how
Ed couldn't have even spelled that word.
And I don't even know if you had the same philosophy right now. After about 1 inning of watching Jacob Misiorowski, I knew that if I had to go and grab something to drink or grab something from the other room or be ready to go wherever, I wasn't going to miss Misiorowski pitching. I would rather go when the Brewers were hitting.
Which you never want to miss your team hitting.
Never. But 100 times out of 100 when Misiorowski is on the bump, I want to watch him. I don't want to watch the Brewers hit. I literally just want to watch him. And here's an awesome note from the game notes today. Misiorowski already has 43 pitches of 100 miles an hour or more in his 2 starts so far this season. That is the second most from a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. The other one is Hunter Green for
Cincinnati,
for Cincinnati, and he has 124. And I'm going to look right now. Hunter Green.
This is his 3rd full season?
No, I'm talking about this season. This year. And Hunter Green has 11 starts versus Misiorowski's 2 starts.
Yeah. I mean, simply unbelievable. When you talked about going to the restroom when Misiorowski pitches, and you never want to miss your team hitting, it brings back one of the worst memories in my mind.
Oh, no.
2003, Monday night. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. It was the same night as the Pedro implosion and the Aaron Boone homer for the Yankees against the Red Sox. And I remember timing it out. So I was only watching when the Red Sox hit. And whenever the Red Sox were pitching, I'd be watching the Monday Night Football game. So I never actually saw Aaron Boone's home run until 2 weeks later. I'd been avoiding it, but I never watched it because nothing good can happen when the other team is hitting. Well, it is a very special case in Major League Baseball when it's can't miss when your team is pitching. And Jacob Misiorowski, after 2 career starts, has already become that guy. And we all, beep, 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 beep. We need to back up the bus just a little bit. It's okay to have this level of excitement, but we can't expect no-hit pitching every time he goes out. He gives up a hit in the first inning. He gives up a run in the third inning. It's okay. Like, you can win games 4-3 or 7-2. You don't have to win every game by pitching no-hit ball for 5 or 6 innings. Do we want no-hit ball? Of course. Let's just not set that up as the expectation, because then we're going to set ourselves up for disappointment.
Completely understand that the expectation cannot be 5 no-hit. He hasn't given up a hit inside the first 5 innings of a baseball game yet. That's not going to happen every time. But it still can be must-watch, highly anticipated,
yes, that it can
just
be,
because of what he does with the baseball every time he throws it. Yeah. It's not. I don't even know if the 102 is the most exciting pitch. Right. I mean, the 96 slider is the most disgusting, and the 94 changeup. Yeah. It's so great to watch his pitches and then watch StatCast just completely get it wrong every time he pitches. He has broken science, Jacob Misiorowski, right now, because he knows he's throwing his changeup. He's got the circle around it, and it sinks. It doesn't change. It sinks. And so everyone thinks it's a sinker at 94. It's his changeup. And the slider, we're gonna see that Willie Castro video striking out on that slider
and falling down
like 100 more times.
Fooled by it.
100 more times.
Remember, follow us on all the socials at The Fan Milwaukee, including YouTube now. We are live streaming video on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee, so check us out there. You can follow me at Thunder MKE. I did throw a question up on my personal Facebook, so that's Thunder MKE or Mitch Nelles. What is a must-see for you? It can be music or it can be sports, obviously, because Jacob Misiorowski, Paul Skeens was must-see enough for me that I got my press certificate immediately, my press credential immediately, because it is a June day game in Major League Baseball that has this event vibe. Tommy Wurst is here. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. Mason's off for Human Wednesday. He'll be back tomorrow. The Boston Celtics have made 2 trades. What do the Bucks need to do? We'll talk about NBA trades and the draft. Round 1 of the NBA draft is tonight in Brooklyn. I'm not sure if it's must-watch TV. It's certainly not must-watch TV like what's going to happen at 1:10 p.m. at AmFam Field. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. My name's Mitch Nelles. Also, it's not a tournament. It's just a softball game. It's not a softball tournament. There's no tournament. They're playing a celebrity game.
Does it say softball tournament?
Yeah. That's literally the first sentence. I never even realized that.
Oh, I guess I didn't either. Do you bring donuts in? I heard you.
I actually wonder, Cooper Flag at 6'7". I kind of felt like he was 6'9".
Who, Cooper Flag, did you say? He's 6'7"? I feel like I've definitely heard him taller than that, too.
Let's go. If you want to come and get it, let me know. I'm about to break this thing off. Let's go. Oh, I'm sorry. Was this not the Little John remix?
No, and I'm on both
it was.
cameras now because you move around all the time, so you got to show your face in the front right there.
Nope.
And then
Nope. I'm keeping the camera like it is. If you are watching on YouTube right now, so there's one camera on Tommy, and then my camera is actually looking through the window at Tommy.
Literally put it on green for you today.
Man. I didn't move it.
You moved. That's
right,
why.
Right. Oh, you mean as a human being hosting a radio show, I move around and talk?
Yes.
Wait,
yes.
I should. All right. So hold on.
Oh man,
I'm just freezing.
I can't wait. There's going to be so many great moments that come from this because of that. Now with Mitch Nelles over there.
I mean, I wonder, and I wonder this too. Like, you know, when you go on when we broadcast from somewhere else from here, we wear a headset, right? We don't. I actually wonder why we don't wear our headset all the time. Because right now I could talk like this away from the microphone. I could talk right into the microphone. I could talk over here on the microphone. And you can hear me that whole time. And the camera is now following me. But when you have the headset with the mic that's right, like no matter where you move, the mic is always the same distance away from your mic. So you can actually calibrate like your levels as opposed to I'm constantly moving this mic because our mic doesn't like have the intestinal fortitude to actually stand up on its own. Because I've only used a drill in this studio 9,700 times, but it doesn't stay up. And I'm, with all due respect to my friend Steve, I'm a little bit taller than he is, so it's like set at his height, but it doesn't like stay at my height. So I'm constantly moving anyway. So then like my hands move, and then the camera picks up different cues.
I will tell you that I just don't feel sorry for you for being tall. I don't feel sorry
I mean,
at all.
I'm not. That I don't think
above
that's
average height.
looking-
I'm not. No sympathy
right,
for
man.
above average height, man. No sympathy.
This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. I did put up a question on Facebook. What is a must-see? And I added music into it because I think lots of us have musical must-sees, but also have sports must-sees, as we have Paul Skeens and Jacob Mizorowski going at it today. And even some people who I know are huge sports fans are chiming in with some comments of musical guests. Like Jay writes in, he's got to see Bruce Springsteen. Anytime Bruce Springsteen's in town, he's got to see him. Pat says, Dying Fetus coming to the rave this fall? Is that, I don't
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Leslie says Billy Idol coming in.
Okay.
Jerry says Tariq Skubal. So finally somebody talking about sports. Tariq Skubal, one of the great pitchers.
Also very fun to watch.
Yes. There was I know that Tigers and Pittsburgh fans were disappointed. They did miss each other by one day. Pirates and Tigers in their matchup this year. To see Tariq Skubal facing Paul Skeens. Sarah says Benson Boone. Nick says Eric Church. Kelly says Thunder. I don't think. I mean, that's like I don't see Kelly coming to the studio every day to watch me, host a radio show. So I don't know if that's true. But 414-677-1250, Nikolai Lofan talking text line. What's on your list? What's a must see for you? if LeBron is coming to town, or when Kobe was playing, when he came to town, or MJ back in the day? Is it Mike Trout or Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani? When the Dodgers are in town, do you have to make sure you get to at least one of those games? I will say, I did go to a Red Sox game this year, but I don't know that anybody, I don't know if Bregman or Devers, when they were on the team, when Mookie Betts was on the Red Sox, I had to make sure I got to at least one Red Sox game when they were in Milwaukee, because Mookie was that type of player for me. And now, if you want to see Drew Holiday play, if he's on your must list, not because he's one of the greatest of all time, but because he is one of our favorites of all time, he's one of the reasons the Milwaukee Bucks got a championship ring in 2021, you will have to go and buy tickets for when the Portland Trailblazers, at least as of today, when the Portland Trailblazers come into town. The Boston Celtics make not one but two trades in the past day and a half. Drew Holiday going to Portland, Kristaps Porzingis, who once was labeled the great unicorn of the NBA.
Yep.
And that was kind of before Giannis really had taken off, when Kristaps was young with the Knicks. Kristaps gets shipped off to the Atlanta Hawks. The Celtics are making deals. They are now they have now wiped $180 million off their books. They are officially under the second apron. They may actually even get under the first apron. With seeing how the Boston Celtics have responded to a Jason Tatum season-altering Achilles tear, do you anticipate the Bucks being involved in trade discussions? Do you want the Bucks being involved in trade discussions? And I would love to, I was thinking about this morning. Are the reasons, and I don't know that John Horst could ever answer this. I don't know if he's allowed to answer this without being like losing his Milwaukee residence card. Are the reasons Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton are still on the team bigger than basketball or different than basketball? Like in any other city in America, I think Pat and Bobby would have been traded 2 years ago. And they haven't been. And I know Pat's very involved in the community, both philanthropically and from a business standpoint. He builds basketball courts for kids in need. He runs a very successful commercial real estate company. Bobby Portis, of course, is the face of Visit Milwaukee. The tourism industry of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so listen, that's how Milwaukee rolls. We love our own. We still love Drew Holiday. There are people out there who still love Ray Allen, even though that was a long time ago. You got to be as old as I am to remember that. But these guys wouldn't be on the Bucks if the Bucks were the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, and the teams were trade, or if they were in any of the California teams or any of the Texas teams, like Bobby and Pat just wouldn't be on the team anymore. And they are still on the team. And so how does that interfere with what the Bucks are trying to accomplish on the court? Is it worth being Midwest nice at the expense of wins on the basketball court? And so my bigger question, though, I go back to it. With the Celtics making two pretty major trades, is it time for the Bucks to start making some major trades? Is it time for the Bucks to just start shaking things up a little bit? Maybe just to shake things up a little bit, but maybe also to show that, like, hey, we're committed to winning. We're not committed to individuals who, yes, may be great in the community, but that's not the point. That's not why we exist. We don't exist as a basketball franchise in the NBA to be friendly and to do good. Yes, we want to do good in the community, but it's based on the franchise, not on individual players. And so I do think it is. I do want to see the Bucks active on the trade front. I don't think, in my mind, that has nothing to do with the draft. I do not want to see them trade into the draft, into the first round. I do not want to see them get more active in the NBA draft. I think the NBA draft is garbage, and this year's draft is especially garbage. I think we'll see, not that we'll see flops, but I think we'll see guys drafted in the lottery who barely play next year. And I think we'll see multiple guys like that who just aren't making an impact. So I don't want to see the Bucks make any trades to get into the draft tonight. I just think like refreshing the roster, getting a little younger, getting a little more athletic, getting getting that type. I mean, listen, they were so blown off the court by the Pacers athletically that you use Bobby, you use Pat, you use whatever other resources you have to get younger, to get more athletic. And that's the direction you need to go in. 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250 is the Nicolay Law Fan talk and text line. What do you want to see am I wrong? Do you ride out Bobby and Pat forever because they're us? They are Milwaukee. They're our guys, and you want to see them there. Or do you disagree with me? Yeah, you want a lottery pick. Like, you know what? Go get Knippel. We never get the hometown guy here in Wisconsin. And the Packers have had a million opportunities in the past 20, 30 years to draft the Badger, to draft the native Wisconsinite, and haven't. Obviously, TJ Watt's the biggest one, but we go back to Troy Vincent, right? I mean, we remember them passing on Troy Vincent, which was a horrible mistake by the franchise. So we've seen that. We haven't seen it as much from the Bucks. They haven't had quite as many opportunities. There have been a few here and there, but not quite the same. Listen, go trade up. If he doesn't get picked 4th or 5th, like go trade up to 6. Go use that 2031 first-round draft pick, just like the T-Wolves and the Spurs did last year when they made a trade for the T-Wolves to get into the first round and use their 2031 pick as leverage. Go make that trade. Go bring Knippel. Is that who you want? Do you want Knippel? I don't know that he's the right fit on this team. Shooting-wise, he sure is. I'm a little nervous about his quickness at the next level. But if that's who you want, 414-677-1250, let me know. Let me know what you want the Bucks to do tonight and or this offseason. I don't know. I don't have the answers. If I had the answers, John Horst would be on the radio right now and I would have his job, right? That's how it would all shake out. But I just think like the Celtics see Jason Tatum get hurt for a year. They see where they are salary-wise. They see where they are age-wise. And they immediately get rid of their overpaid 34-year-old point guard who is not a top-notch scorer for a scorer. They immediately get rid of their 7'3" unicorn who brought them a title 2 years ago when he was healthy, but couldn't stay healthy, both sickness-wise and injury-wise this year. And yeah, they didn't get a lot in return for him, but they got his salary off the books. They got themselves a lot more flexibility. Why can't the Bucks do that sort of thing? Why can't they create? And listen, I know they traded Middleton, but they traded him for Kuzma. And so that's a deal they made. They got under the second apron doing that. But in this universe of getting more athletic and getting faster and getting tougher on defense, the Bucks did none of those things by getting Kyle Kuzma. So what should the Bucks be doing? What can the Bucks be doing? 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250. The Nicolay Law Fan talk and text line. It is 67 degrees right now in Hales Corners. High getting up to 75. Low today will be 65. It feels like 67. It will be partly cloudy, maybe some sun this afternoon and into the early evening. And then I think tomorrow we've just got actually, it was supposed to be thunderstorms all day tomorrow. Now it looks like just in the evening. But then Friday and Saturday, man, this is going to be a rough weekend for Summerfest being in the, what? Hold on. No, tomorrow it is supposed to rain all day. Just kidding. So enjoy today. Tommy, I got to feel like today's weather, like 68 and partly cloudy, is like right in your bread box.
Oh, it was beautiful coming out of the house today. Beautiful. Almost a little chilly, just almost because of how hot it had been over the few days. Not because I don't traditionally like 68 degrees,
right?
But it's kind of a shock when you walk outside. But totally, I mean, you see me. I'm wearing a shirt and shorts right now. I'm living my best life.
As you should be. Wade versus Diener is back for year 3. Join basketball stars Dwayne Wade and Travis Diener Friday night, June 27th. So today the 25th. Yeah. This Friday night, it's Champions for Literacy celebration. They'll make an impact here in Milwaukee and at Marquette. Tickets on sale at wadevsdiener.givesmart.com. That's Wade vs. Diener, wadevsdiener.givesmart.com. Oh, man. The NBA draft is tonight. It's so weird. I've heard of one of these guys. It's just bizarre. Mason Crosby's out today. It is a Human Wednesday. He's getting his honeydew list done today. My name's Mitch Thunder Nelles. The Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. My name's Mitch Thunder Nelles, and my thanks go out this morning to one Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, who is live in the building right now, and dude brought in donuts. And I rocked a Boston cream because that's what I do. When there's a Boston cream, I'm gonna write. Now the Boston cream was star shaped. I'm not sure what's going on in late June, like that they made them star shaped. Like usually there's like a theme. There's like for Easter they have lots of instead of chocolate they have all the pastel colors.
Is it close enough to 4th of July?
Oh.
Is it
Tommy
right?
Wirtz? Check out the big brains on Tommy.
Next Friday, right?
Nicely done. Yeah.
No local programming here on the Fan, just for everyone as well.
Special 3-hour leadoff show next Friday to celebrate America, right?
Yeah.
What are the Brewers doing on the 4th?
They are playing. They will be playing.
But I mean, I'm looking up right now, seeing if I can find. Let's see. There's Milwaukee. There's July. Let's see. The 4th, they are in Miami. Brewers at Marlins, 6:10 first pitch on the 4th. They will have just left New York. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, Tommy. The Mets are like 1-10 in their last 11 games. Like the Mets.
Did you see they just sent down and like redid their whole lineup?
Yeah, their catcher who's like this big prospect. They sent him
Francisco
down.
Alvarez and Luis Angel Acuna. It's Acuna's brother.
Yes.
Also,
Yep.
They just sent down a couple of guys. I think they had another guy as well that they just claimed off of waivers, Richard Lovelady, as well, who is now requesting to go by his nickname, Dickie Lovelady.
I mean, he was, that's perfect. 10 games ago, the Mets were 4.5 up on Philly after going 1-9, and Philly goes 7-3 in the last 10. Philly has gained 6 games and is now a game and a half ahead of the Mets in the NL East standings. And we were watching the Mets their pitching had been great. They were cruising along, and now their pitching is just so-so, and they're not getting the hits. And it's relevant to us, and it's relevant to the Brewers, obviously, because now the Mets are involved in the wild card race. The Mets are still 2 games up. They're in first place in the wild card. They're a game and a half ahead of San Francisco, 2 games ahead of the Brewers and the Cardinals. I mean, again, 10 games ago, the Mets were 6 games. Nope. The Mets were 8 games ahead of Milwaukee. And now after 10 games, they're 2 games ahead of our Milwaukee.
Do we have to wait till tomorrow to say how are the Brewers halfway through the season?
Yes.
Okay.
Today is game 81.
Okay. All right.
And so through 80 games, and I think what's interesting about the Brewers record right now is if they win today, again, if, not when, if they win today, they'll be at 45 wins through 81, on pace for 90. And getting to 45 halfway through, I just think feels a little different. It hits a little different than 44.
Remember the over-under, I believe, was 86.5 when we were debating between it?
It actually was 84.5.
Oh, was it that low?
I actually locked it in. Remember when I went to spring training?
Yeah.
So I was in Florida, and because betting odds at Potawatomi, it was at 84.5, but Hard Rock in Florida was 83.5. So I locked in a nice little 3-digit wager on our Milwaukee Brewers over that 83.5.
Yeah.
So as of 80 games, I feel pretty good about that. On pace to win 90. Crazy things can happen. And also, but we already saw the crazy things happen. The way the season started, they were not on pace.
Right.
They weren't even in 500. And they had to get hot, and now they've been hot. Real quick, I want to take 1 minute because I know I heard this on numerous, I saw it on the websites, I heard it on numerous stations. The WIA once again votes down the shot clock in the state of Wisconsin. And I just think, what are we at, 30-something states that have a shot clock in high school basketball? And I know it's like a 5-year transition in terms of getting all the gyms set up for it, getting the clock set, the money investment, the technology. But it's so part of basketball now that I feel like if you're the WIA and you're fighting this fight and you're putting your heads in the sand, you're on the wrong side of history. You're on the wrong side of this one. The fact that we could still see games where you're up by 6 with 2 minutes left and you try to hold the ball for 2 minutes. Nobody wants to see that. I think I don't like that there's not a shot clock.
I understand that point of it.
Yep.
I do think it hurts some lower level or not as talented teams as well during this. I don't think that adding a shot clock will necessarily help those programs. And there's probably more of those programs than there is programs out there that are putting up top-end state championship caliber lineups. And so...
Yeah, but I still think the days of listen, you could have 15 to 11 games if you wanted to go back 80 years. Like, we don't want that form of basketball anymore, I think,
right.
is what, and you're right. I mean, but that's true with every state. I mean, every state has strong rural basketball, I'm sure, where there's no way those guys are going pro. There's no way those girls are going pro. They're probably not even playing in college. But I still think the concept of basketball is movement, is action, is activity. It's not stalling. It's not, that's an antiquated way to look at things.
Yeah.
But I also think that, I get that there's a financial investment, and the WIA probably doesn't want to get involved in that. They don't, clearly, because they didn't even bring it up to the full committee. They voted it down before it even got to the board. So the WIA not interested. Wisconsin, no shot clock. Chris Miller, probably interested in the shot clock. 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh to talk Paul Skeens, to talk Aaron Rodgers, to talk the Pittsburgh Mount Rushmore of sports, which for some reason, I heard it talked about on Maggie and Perloff this morning, so I got a little interested in this. Chris Miller will join the show next. It's the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. We're live in the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And welcome into hour number 2 of the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles. No Mason on a Human Wednesday. Human, a.k.a. Honeydew List. Clean out that basement, bro. You got the workers, the contractors are coming over, so pack everything up and move it out of there. Let's go. We'll find out if his back is intact after lugging up all those boxes from the basement on tomorrow's Mason Crosby Show. Cannot wait for that. But today, my name is Mitch Thunder Nelles. Tommy Wirtz is here as well. Today is game 81 for our Milwaukee Brewers at AmFam Field, and it is one of the most highly anticipated regular season games in quite some time. Jacob Misiorowski, Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens, the overwhelming favorite for the Cy Young in the National League, facing the now favorite for the Rookie of the Year in the National League after just 2 starts. Jacob Misiorowski to discuss that and much more. Chris Miller from 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Chris, it's like you were just on the show, my man.
Is Mason avoiding me? That's what I want to know, Mitch. Are all these just elaborate schemes that he doesn't want to step into the hot take arena with me or something like that? It
might be. As we know, Mason was Aaron Rodgers' ring bearer at his most recent wedding. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't really that. But we will definitely, and especially as we have you on week of Packers Steelers this year, we will make sure that Mason is here and faces the full frontal assault of Chris Miller and 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh.
Thank you. I wanted to clarify that would happen at some point because,
yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
if I were being asked to outkick him on a football field, that would be a problem for me. He's got to step into the arena with a man who's only known hot takes his entire life.
I love that.
I'm excited, though, for today, Mitch. I'm very pumped as a baseball fan. The Pirates give us very few reasons to be excited about anything, but this is like one of those ones that I almost get ticked off that I'm technically doing a radio show while the game is happening.
I know.
We have big flat screens, though, in the studio, very fancy studio, and I will be doing the thing where if people are watching me on our YouTube feed, they will see me just having basically a stray eye on the TV the entire time. I'll be like, oh, yeah, caller, great point. What did you say anyway? Because, and the thing that usually happens there is Paul Skeens is usually the reason we're doing this. Paul Skeens is kind of like, okay, we're going to watch his innings to see how he throws against whoever he's playing. But, man, seeing Misiorowski feels like it's the rare time where you almost have a higher curiosity factor, even as a fan of the opposing team, about the other guy pitching against Paul Skeens. And I think this might be the first time in Skeens' career where I can say that. Like, man, this dude looks like Misiorowski, looks terrifying.
Yeah.
And against a team like the Pirates, he should be even more terrifying because none of their players can hit.
Well, and you mentioned that word terrifying, and I think that's what we think of with Paul Skeens. Is like since he's come up, he has been as advertised, if not better, and I'd say most likely better. He's a 1.85 ERA. His WHIP is under 0.9, and he's been dominant. The only thing that's not dominant, as we know, is his win-loss record and the team's win-loss record when he's out there. He's 4-6. I think the team is 8-8 in his starts. And is there any sense of frustration there for Pirates fans that Skeens could be 10, in 10 decisions, he could be 8-2. He could be, in 16 starts, he could be 10-4. But because of the team, he's 4-6, and every other metric, he's the best pitcher in baseball, and it's not close.
Is there frustration on his part? I think if there is, and there probably is, he's too much of a pro, Mitch, to let that get to him publicly and to talk a bunch of junk on his teammates. There's frustration on the part of the fans, but I will say this. We know now that baseball's voting body for major awards is a lot more hip to what the pitcher can control on his own versus win-loss record as far as handing out major hardware. Obviously, I would actually tell you that in terms of storylines that are maybe of interest or of pride for Pirates fans, it's making sure Paul Skeens or hoping Paul Skeens pitches well enough to get the Cy Young. And that cat came out of the bag with Felix Hernandez about 15 years ago when he, I think, was one game above 500, 13 and 12.
Yep.
Really the best pitcher. DeGrom in 2017 with the Mets was insane. His ERA was like 170, but he went 10-9. So, like, there's not as much angst, to answer your question, as there otherwise would be, because I think we know collectively that the people who vote on these awards aren't just doing the old Jack Morris thing. Well, did he show the will to win? Like, did he win 22 games with a 3.5 ERA? Like, well, he just knew how to win. No, like, they know that, hey, the dude is unbelievable, and, you know, controlling what he can control, there's nobody better. Here's the other wild thing that I did not realize this. Mizorowski's like 2 months older than Paul Skeens, which is just bonkers to consider. Paul Skeens is 23 and not even 1 month, and I think that is the other thing that makes him like truly a different kind of cat, because he's been doing this since he was 21 years old at the big league level and basically stepped out of the minor leagues like ready to be Roger Clemens modern day, which I think is just – Pirates fans are like just waiting for the other shoe to drop, but like so far they've stayed out of his way as an organization and haven't tried to like tell him what to do, and that's been the best thing that they could have done, because I think most people here assume if they had tried to do that, they would have found a way to screw it up.
Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, joining us here on The Fan in Milwaukee. So I have to, I want to word this carefully, not for more for Skeens and Mizorowski than for me and you. We as fans, we as media members, we watch baseball, and we see pretty much every pitcher in the history of baseball who pitches at this level at some point has an injury. And we don't want to see injuries. Like, you know, Corbin Burns, former Brewer, another Cy Young winner who did it with the metrics, and I don't think his win-loss record was great that year that he won it. We saw him go down this year with the Diamondbacks. What can baseball do? What can the teams do? How do they stay cognizant of, like, these guys are throwing, 100-mile-an-hour pitches. You know, we're all talking about how Mizorowski's throwing a 96-mile-an-hour slider. How do we figure out a way to keep these guys healthy throughout their careers as well?
You ever watch disaster movies like an Independence Day or one of those like Day After Tomorrow type things? Absolutely. There's always one character in there who's usually like the sensible one who just goes, well, you can't. This is what happens. I'm going to be that guy here. You can't. Like, there's nothing to do unless here's the ways that you fix this. You either magically find a way to make every human being's ulnar collateral ligament like a full millimeter thicker than they currently are, because it's usually 2 on average. I have actually read about this stuff where pitchers who have either not had a major arm injury or have only had one very late in their career had a millimeter thicker UCL, so like a 3 millimeter UCL, and just made it more resistant to tearing. Or you basically tell these guys, we want you to throw less hard, we want you to focus way less on spin rate, and we want you to look like one of those like sidewinder starting pitchers who's junk balling his way to 6 innings in the 80s. Except the problem is modern day hitters are going to destroy those baseballs. Yep. So that's my kind of a roundabout way of saying there is no way to avoid it. Like Skeens, the one thing we're all excited about here in Pittsburgh when we watch him consider his career, knowing he's not going to pitch more than at most probably 5 years with the Pirates because of the realities of the sport. Right. He only became a full-time pitcher, really, in the last handful of years. So, relatively speaking, there is not a ton of wear and tear on that arm. So, the chance is decent, I would say, that the Pirates see the best of him, see a relatively injury-free version of him, and then it becomes somebody else's issue. But as far as baseball-wide, you have these electrifying pitchers. You want to see them at the tops of their games. You want to see them out there. You don't want to see even a DeGrom, who, for my money, has been as dominant as anybody post, like, almost Pedro Martinez, early part of the century. Even he eventually succumbs. Verlander eventually succumbs. I just don't think that there is a way to actually avoid this. It is just the nature of the beast. You're asking these guys to throw harder and harder, to spin their breaking pitches more and more, which torques the arm even more. Yep. I don't care if you're 6'6" like Skeens. I don't care if you're 6'7" like Mizorowski. I don't care if you're 6'10" like Chris Young was, even though he was throwing 85 miles an hour downhill. Right. You're not going to avoid this. It very literally is part of the sport until somebody has some sort of medical breakthrough, and I don't think one of those is on the horizon anytime soon.
Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan, joining us from Pittsburgh. Nick Gonzalez has had a couple great games here in Milwaukee. Is he somebody we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I gave we do a weekly hit with our one of the broadcasters for the Pirates, Greg Brown, who's been on the call for them as play-by-play man for a very long time. And we like to needle Greg a little bit because we're more cynics, and he's obviously a glass half full guy. You kind of have to be in that profession, I think. If the team isn't very good, you're always looking for positives. But we know that this is a historically bad offense here, and O'Neal Cruz going in the toilet lately for the entire month of June makes it even worse.
Yep.
And when we would talk to Greg about the team and how bad the offense was and how frustrating that was because the pitching is especially the starting pitching is by and large so good for the Pirates, he would consistently say, well, you've got to wait till Nick Gonzalez comes back. You've got to wait till, and I said to him yesterday, with all due respect, like we're not talking about 2001 Barry Bonds joining this lineup here. Like we're talking about a kid who was a first-round pick, but he played in a very hitter-friendly environment in college. So, are you really going to get like some home run masher? Probably not. I think you should pay attention to him. I think he profiles more as professional hitter, not second baseman who's going to hit you 25 home runs. I think like in a perfect world, he's like a 15 to 20 home run guy. He hits for a high average. He's reasonably selective. He puts the ball in play a lot, and he's an above average offensive player. But he's not a franchise turnaround by himself kind of guy. He's not that level of bat, but he should be one of the better bats in their lineup as long as he's healthy. That, by the way, isn't saying much because I'm sure you've looked at Baseball Reference. They basically have the bad news bears out there. I think Brian Hayes and Spencer Horwitz have a combined 3 home runs from the classic power infield positions. Yeah,
not
so
great.
You get
you
get a sense of the trouble and of the frustration in my voice as I talk about this out loud in a city where we always get jealous because you guys always figure out how to have a competent baseball team year after year, and this is no different.
Well, we, it's. I don't know if it's leadership or if it's scouting or whatever it is. It's the organization, but I think there were people around Major League Baseball who were a little surprised Pittsburgh's Pirates didn't do a little bit more to build around Skeens this offseason. But I will say Gonzalez has had a nice 2 game. 5 for 5 yesterday. Hits a bomb yesterday. 5 for 5 the day before, and so he certainly was like, oh, who's this guy? Like,
he's the guy who can hurt you in this lineup right this second. I mean, of all the guys, I would say, Brewers fans, somebody might hit Mizrowski. It's probably him, just because he's the only guy who's swinging anything close to a hot bat. I mean, they just really are void of any offense. I would say if you were getting league average offense from the Pirates, they would be probably 7 to 8 games better at least, and would at least be a factor right now in the division. They would be in the mix. It truly is, Mitch, one of the worst offenses I have ever seen. And I'm 40 years old. I have seen the Pirates my whole life. Trust me, they've put some repugnant offense on the field. This is as bad as it's ever been.
Well, you're 40 years old. I think this guy is right about that, 41. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. That's why we just did a 1-year deal. Steelers didn't need to put any extra years on that or anything. So this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. I played 20 freaking years. It's been a long run. I've enjoyed it, and no better place to finish than in one of the cornerstone franchises of the NFL with Mike Tomlin and a great group of leadership and great guys in the city that expects you to win. That was Aaron Rodgers yesterday with Pat McAfee. How's the Aaron Rodgers experiment going, Chris?
So I just came back from vacation. Yesterday was my first day back on the air after basically a full week plus off, and I decided to choose optimism, which had my listeners.
Okay.
There were YouTube comments, text comments, Twitter comments coming in. Have you been abducted? Blink twice if this is the real you. Like, where's our pessimistic pal Chris? I will say this, just like, I'm comparing him to Russell Wilson last year and comparing all the dynamics, and I do think it's going to work out better than it did with Wilson. That might not yield a playoff win because the AFC is stacked, and you have to almost certainly in your first playoff game climb over a quarterback that probably is a potential MVP. Like, look at the realistic guys you would have to face in the first round. Could be Mahomes, could be Allen, could be Burrow, could be Jackson. I mean, all 4 of those guys are legitimate, bona fide top 5 or 6 in the league at the position. So even if it goes better, it might not yield what people here want, which is at least one playoff win. But
sure,
I do think Rodgers has no ulterior motives here. He does. I take at face value that quote you read back to me. We talked about it a lot yesterday. Like, I really genuinely believe that he just wants to have one more year. I do think it matters to him that it's a cornerstone franchise because he played for one for basically 2 decades up there with you guys.
Sure.
The Jets are, of course, a place where a kid named Brick is reportedly making some of the personnel decisions, so I would not call that a cornerstone franchise. And here's the thing. This is the rub. Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin talked him up. Hey, he's been there. Look at his resume. He's a Super Bowl champ. But I think when push came to shove, Russell Wilson's not an upper room of a Hall of Fame guy. I think Aaron Rodgers is. 4 MVPs, a Super Bowl, like feats of quarterback greatness that I think most of us can only dream of our team's quarterback performing. Some of the throws he's made, you guys would know way better than I would. I think Mike is going to respect him a little bit more. I think Mike is going to be a little more deferential. When Russell Wilson started to turn the ball over a little bit, when he went maybe a little rogue against Cincinnati and had a huge game, there was pushback internally. I think there's going to be a lot more of a simpatico, copacetic vibe between Rodgers and Tomlin, and probably by extension Rodgers and Arthur Smith. And I'll say this for Rodgers. Forget about like the I want my privacy, but I'm also doing a hit on the Pat McAfee show every week kind of double standard that he's applying a little bit.
Yep.
I do think he is a more authentic guy, a more authentic teammate, and a more likable person for his teammates and coaches than Wilson. You know this. I mean, you followed the NFL closely.
Sure.
Wilson behaves. I saw somebody write this about him. Like his goal someday is to actually be president of the United States. So it's very much like a politician's vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't go over well. And I do think Rodgers, when he gets in there and gets into the locker room, it's way more blood and guts. And I think guys respond to that. And so I think that it's going to go better in that sense. And I think the fact that Wilson was also trying to play for his next contract, or so he thought here, sort of was at odds with how Tomlin and Arthur Smith want to play offense. He wanted to do let Russ cook, let me do my thing, let me improvise, and they didn't want him to. I think Rodgers, hey, this is it for me. I just want to play and then be done. And I think he wants to win from the pocket more now than he ever has in his career. And I actually think, Mitch, that matches up with the head coach, with the OC, and that's why I chose like an optimistic bent on some of those comments he made yesterday.
So you've talked to Tommy Wirtz, our super producer here. He also hosts the leadoff show before every Milwaukee Brewers game. But he and I, we have a casino here in downtown Milwaukee, Potawatomi. So we get our odds courtesy of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Last year, Aaron Rodgers threw for like 3 yards short of 3,900. His over-under this year is for 3,300. 3,300 is basically less than 200 a game. I know the Steelers like to run first. And that's, and I know, or at least that's their reputation. I got to figure Aaron's thrown for more than 3,300 yards this year. Like, I think this is a slam dunk wager. And I'm like, I don't run down to the casino a lot for on a daily basis, but 3,300 seems like a really low number to me for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, unless he gets hurt, which could happen, injuries happen. But if he doesn't get hurt, he's throwing for more than 200 yards a game, isn't he?
I mean, I think you just said it, though. It's the injury concern that you're betting on, and they have a line that's going to need to show that it can perform. Broderick Jones is going to be at left tackle where they initially drafted him to play, and then they butchered that situation. He's finally going to be over there. Troy Fautanu, I mean, they've invested a lot. Zach Frazier, those are all first or second round picks I'm talking about, but they need to keep him upright. So I think the only reason that number is that low is injury related. I really don't buy it being a function of, well, this is Mike Tomlin's team and he wants to play retrograde, Stone Age, like early 1990s offense. I think it's more, can the guy stay upright for 17 games? Because I'm looking at it right now. Even in a pretty down year, his last year with the Packers, he still threw for 217 a game. He threw for 230 a game last year. I mean, I think if he plays 17 games, then yes, I would tell you that that's an easy slam dunk bet. And if you and people out there are confident that he is better physically now coming off of the second year away from the Achilles, then I'd make that bet. But as far as it being like, oh, no, they're going to ground and pound here, no. I think if they're going to win, he's going to be throwing touchdowns. He's going to be having an occasional 300-yard game. I don't think that they're going to tell him, hey, we brought you here for a swan song, and now we want you to just kind of sit, chill, and watch.
Yeah. Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan, joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon. The NBA draft is tonight. Does Pittsburgh care at all about the NBA or the NBA draft or anything that goes on in the NBA?
They cared for this playoff run for the Pacers because T.J. McConnell, a kid who was built like one of those like tall coat racks, when he was in high school. Like, he was that skinny. There's a very funny picture. If you type in T.J. McConnell high school freshman year, like, you'll see him and you'll be like, wait, that kid became one of the more valuable NBA players of this year's season and playoffs. So there's a lot of local pride in him, just local kid done good. Comes from a big-time basketball family around here, but no, I mean, the league
those are the skinniest arms I've ever seen in my entire life.
Right, it's a very funny picture, right? Like, you should
compared to
tweet
him
that out
now.
and be like right, I mean, he deserves
like
a ton
swole.
of credit. He made himself into an athlete, but he's always been a great basketball player. I mean, there's stories of him playing a Philly powerhouse in the state title game and just chirping at them all game long. Their point guard was going to Wake Forest, and TJ just handed them like 33 points, and his team lost in like double OT because basically every other guy on the court for the other team was better than Chartiers Valley, his high school's team, players.
Okay.
And he still kept them in it. So there was interest in that, and there was interest in how much shine he was getting from like legit NBA people going, this guy is going to be the reason they win the series if they pull this upset. But independent of stuff like that happening, no. I mean, you've got people who definitely like hoops around here. It's this weird – there's a weird like push from some corners of media and fans on social media, Twitter, the internet cesspool, to tell you that everyone hates basketball. It does plenty good enough in the ratings most years, but it's definitely not something I'm going to go on the air today and be like, guys, NBA draft, let's talk about it, throw out the phone number, because no one cares on that level. Very much a hockey city in terms of what like your avid sports fan cares about, which I know kind of puts it in reverse from a place like Milwaukee, where I would imagine it's Packers, then it's Brewers, and then it's Bucks.
Yep, that is correct. Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan. That answer actually leads me perfectly to my next question. And this I'm going to put you on the spot on this one. Matt, I was listening as I drove in this morning, and Maggie and Perloff went to break. And right before they went to break, they mentioned something about the Pittsburgh Mount Rushmore of sports. And I'm sure, we've all done this in sports radio, right? The Mount Rushmore, it's a slow day during the summer or the winter after the Super Bowl or whatever. And so he said, oh, what's the Mount Rushmore? And they said, what's the Mount Rushmore of Pittsburgh? And I immediately thought, like, with the long legacy of the Steelers and the long legacy of the Pirates, how do you not have both Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby on that Mount Rushmore? And that immediately takes up 2 of your 4 spots for hockey. Is that how most Pittsburgh fans go? Like, do those 2 have to be, or is there a debate that you need to get Clemente and Stargell on there, or Terry Bradshaw has to be out there? But what about Franco Harris, or what about Rod Woodson, or what about Roethlisberger? Like, how do you get it down to 4 when you talk about the Mount Rushmore in Pittsburgh?
I don't know if I missed you say this Steelers name at the start, but any of those Steelers names you mentioned take a backseat to Joe Green, who's going to be the greatest.
We mentioned him earlier in the show. Yeah. But you're right.
So it starts with Joe Green. Lemieux is always going to hold a more special place in Penguins fans' hearts because I don't think it's controversial to say that Mario Lemieux is the single most talented and gifted hockey player who's ever set foot on the planet. Like,
wow.
You want to argue that Gretzky, oh, look at all the point totals. Go look at Lemieux. Go look at the injuries. There were times he'd play when somebody else would tie his skates because his back was so bad. I don't think there's been a more physically gifted player and therefore greater talent in the history of hockey. In fact, you could argue that Bobby Orr would be second on that list and ahead of Gretzky as well. So that'll get people all fired up.
As a native Bostonian, I'll take Bobby Orr in that conversation all day.
Sure, like Lemieux was 6'4", 220 and ate like double cheeseburgers and was ripping heaters in the locker room.
That's
like
crazy.
The stories of basically how he didn't take care of his body until he made his comeback in 2000, and then by the way made his comeback and was instantly the best player in the league again after 3 years away. Like, the stories of all that are legendary. So it's Green. It's Mario, because he also saved the team from bankruptcy and brought them back from the brink. They would be like the Kansas City, whatever you want to call them, playing hockey if it wasn't for him. It is Clemente because of not only 3,000 hits, but the humanitarian work. The reason that he passed away going to do humanitarian work after an earthquake and perishing in that flight makes him larger than life. 4th is you can debate a bunch. Do you go with Terry Bradshaw, who won 4 Super Bowls, but who has a weirdly frosty relationship with some people in town? Do you go with Franco, who was offensively the guy who defined those 70s teams? You could go – there are some people go, Jack Lambert. He wasn't even the best linebacker named Jack on those teams. That would be Jack Ham, but yep. I digress. You can go Crosby. You can go any number of different directions. Modern day me, I might say Crosby just because he's won 3 cups. He has conducted himself like immaculately as a representative of the city. So they've been the most, in my lifetime, the most successful Pittsburgh team, 5 titles since I was born, all 5 of their titles. I would probably go Crosby and Lemieux belong there, Clemente, and then Joe Green. And I think that's a pretty, for me at least, that's a pretty ironclad 4.
Nice. Yeah, that's an undebatable 4 for sure. And it's just I was thinking the reason I was thinking about it is because again, that hockey question is that like does and I think we battle with that conversation a lot here in America is like as hockey has clearly become the number 4 sport when it was once it was one of the big 4, now it's clearly number 4. There are still cities where it's still a big deal, and Pittsburgh is obviously one of those cities.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's not an original 6 city, but listen, it's hard for hockey not to be a big deal in a place where the teams have had legitimately the best player in the sport or the best player adjacent for 40 straight years. They draft Lemieux in '84. It's hilarious. There's very funny stories of them obviously tanking to make sure they got Lemieux.
Right.
Then they go right from there. They have a very small period where nobody would go to the games because they stunk and they didn't have Crosby yet, and Jágr had been traded because Jágr took up the torch of best player in the world after Lemieux retired. Then Lemieux came back, like I said, immediately the best player in the world again for that partial season. Then they have Crosby 2 years later coming out of the lockout. They have Evgeny Malkin, who in any other city could have been, or in any other situation, been the standard bearer of a franchise. It's very hard for hockey not to be popular here when the team has just been that star-studded. Here's a free topic, though.
Okay.
What city in American professional sports has the best overall Mount Rushmore? Think about that one.
All right. That's a good one.
You on that one.
Yeah, I will put that in the holster for sure. Chris Miller, 93.7, The Fan in Pittsburgh. Today, at least, our Mount Rushmore of pitchers, of Major League pitchers who are pitching today. Jacob Misiorowski and Paul Skeens are both on that list. The game is at 1:10 our time, so we're a little bit under 3 hours away. Cannot wait for that matchup. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I know you'll be watching it while you're doing your afternoon show. Chris, again, thanks so much for jumping on today, and I promise the next time we have you on, it will be Chris and Mason, round 1, ding, ding.
Mitch, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next time.
Awesome. Can't wait. Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, jumping on with us to talk about Paul Skeens, to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Mount Rushmore in Pittsburgh, just because that was a topic on my mind. Again, I want to go back to the NBA draft a little bit, though, because we know Cooper Flagg, we know Con Knippel, we don't know anybody else. And the Bucks don't even pick tonight. Like, the Bucks pick tomorrow night. They split this. They split what did not need to be. This is not a 7-round event. This is a 2-round event. This did not need to be split into 2 nights. I think the NBA, the NBA is not, you're not the NFL. I know you want to be the NFL. I know internationally you might be bigger than the NFL. But when it comes to the NBA draft, not so much, my friends. Brewers and Pirates play rubber match of their 3-game series this afternoon at 1. All eyes, of course, are on Skeens and Misiorowski. Get ready for the first pitch with the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook today at noon on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan. You're listening to the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in all of the Milwaukee. When we started this band, all we needed was a laugh. Years gone by, I say we've kicked some. Can I say that word? When I'm enraged or hitting the stage, adrenaline rushing through my veins, and I said, we're still kicking.
Have you ever seen The Dirt?
Oh, I'll kickstart my heart, give it. The Dirt?
Yeah, it's the Motley Crue movie.
I've not.
Oh, you got to watch it. I mean,
I assume it's just naked women everywhere.
It just seems like their life was the best life of all time.
Insane,
yes. Awesome. Like coming up in when they did and how they all got together. I mean, just it's on Netflix. I think it's a Netflix original. But it seems like they just had the coolest life ever, and somehow like all of them are still alive too.
Yeah, things that you could get away with throughout the 80s into the 90s that you could not get away with now for 500 bob. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Brett Favre's on that list. Listen, every athlete and movie star and rock star are probably on that list at some level. Before all of us had a recording device that we walked around with at all times. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. We're live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. We're live on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee, at The Fan Milwaukee. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me at Thunder MKE. You can find Tommy at Tommy WSSP. And we're on the free Odyssey app, AUDACY, the free Odyssey app. Brewers and Pirates, 1:10 p.m. Paul Skeens, Jacob Mizorowski, in one of the most highly anticipated regular season games in recent Milwaukee Brewers history, if not all of Milwaukee Brewers history, with the caveat that it is a regular season game. And that, as great as it will be, it is just a raisin in the trail mix. The trail mix contains 162 raisins in a bucket full of 743 pieces of granola and 38 M&Ms and 94 little pistachios and all the different things you have in your trail mix. So it's just one raisin in the trail mix, but it's a pretty delicious, pretty yummy raisin for a random June afternoon.
I think we should call baseball games the Peanuts.
Do you think they're the Peanuts?
There's just so many. There's so many. And the raisins kind of stink. It's definitely the worst part of the trail mix. It's the worst part.
I don't know.
You can like raisins and still think they're the worst part of the trail mix.
I think I like the raisins more than the peanuts, because peanuts you expect and are just boring. Raisins at least give you a little burst of sweetness.
I feel like this is an M&M in the trail mix, this game.
Oh.
Because of the excitement.
You know what? That's not a bad call. Because,
right? There's like 30 games you're really excited for.
Yeah, there's like 80 or 90 peanuts. There's like 40 or 50 raisins. There's a couple pistachios or cashews. And then there's like 10 M&Ms. And this is one of those M&Ms of the baseball season. You know what, Tommy? Give yourself a raise.
Thank you.
You get $10 of IMS dollars for that.
I will appreciate those.
Yeah, I will give you Odyssey points.
No, you won't.
I have my points to give out this month still. I'm pretty sure I give my points to you every month.
Yeah, I am rich in Odyssey points.
Yes. And in love.
I don't do it for the points. I do it for the love.
That's right. Exactly. Speaking of no love, the NBA draft. Like, I have no love for the NBA draft right now. And I can't even imagine the concept of round 2 has its own night tomorrow night.
That's maybe the worst idea I've ever heard the NBA have.
Like, they obviously are just watching the NFL draft.
It's
worse. Like, this could be a thing. But they forgot that not only does nobody know who picks 16 through 30 are, really no one knows who picks 31 through 59 are.
Is this going to have worse ratings than like the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
I think so.
At least the Pro Bowl's on like a weekend afternoon where, like, if somebody happens by football, they'll watch for 10 minutes. If I'm happening by ESPN tomorrow night and I see it's the second round of the NBA draft, I'm literally just moving on to whatever Marvel movies on TNT or FX or
You would rather watch the 7th round of the NFL draft than the 2nd round of the NBA draft, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true for 89% of sports fans. There's 11% of NBA knuckleheads who would rather watch. I will watch neither.
Right. I'm just saying,
But,
as far as you have a better chance of probably recognizing someone from the 7th round of the NFL draft than you do from the 2nd round of the NBA draft.
So bizarre, like, that they would make this decision. And again, I don't know how much of it is like, oh, well, we saw what the NFL's doing. Also, we're a little upset that the NFL has stolen Christmas now. So we're going to try to make this a 2-night event. It's so weird. I also just noticed that the NHL draft, so the NBA draft is Wednesday, Thursday. The NHL draft is Friday, Saturday, which, again, in Milwaukee, not on our radars. Like, every so often, there's a Badger who's going to be drafted in the top 10. And we'll be like, oh, all right, so that's cool. Like, I remember Danny Heatley 100 years ago went to the Atlanta Thrashers, who don't even exist anymore. But it was like, all right, there's a top 10 pick from the Badgers. Like, we will take note of that. That is worthy of, in Sparky's final segment of Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, when they do like, what did we miss? Oh, what did we miss? So-and-so from the Badgers got drafted in the first round of the NHL draft. Like,
well, I mean, if you go from this argument, like, probably Tanji and Cam Jones go day 2.
In the second round?
I mean, maybe one of them could sneak in at 28, 29 kind of thing.
More likely Cam, I think.
Probably, because Tanji's kind of old.
Right.
But as far as what relevant to local news,
they're second round.
They probably both go on day 2.
But I'm not tuning in. Like, again, I have a phone.
Right.
Right? With all due respect to us giving weather reports on the radio, I have a phone. Now, I will tell you that it is. Hold on. I'm using my phone. It is 69 degrees in Hales Corners, and there's a light rain going on right now. High of 75 today, low of 65. We might get some sun peeking out through the clouds later this afternoon. And remember, tomorrow is just going to be, it's going to get up to 85, but crazy thunderstorms tomorrow. Man, I love thunderstorms, Tommy. It's not just because my name is Thunder. I love thunderstorms. I love thunder. Year round, whenever. I don't care. Like, rain is fine, but man, if you can get a good window rattling, house shaking thunderstorm where like it thunders and lightning's at the same time, so you know the eye of the storm is directly above your house, as long as like windows don't shatter and the electricity stays on, I am here for that sort of weather.
Okay. All right. Glad we clarified on the back end of that. Yes.
In case you were wondering about my love, but like that's very Wisconsin, right? Like if there's a thunderstorm, we open the garage and we set up the lawn chair and we
watch the weather.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw like Sparky is big into lawn wars as well too.
I'm not.
There was an AD in Georgia who had I think 500 followers that took a picture the other day and said like, "Hey, look at my lawn," and my wife didn't like it. Can I get some love here? And he got 500,000 likes on Twitter.
That is I
saved it to show Sparky because I have to. Yeah.
So that is a Lance Allen thing. I think Lance Allen and I think Vince Vetrano, like they've been lawn wars forever. I'm a big like SB mowing guy, the guy from Wichita who like randomly will pull up to people's lots who like, it's like a jungle and he'll clean that. Like that is some good ASMR for me. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. And just like, so I kind of wanted to get into John Horst's head for just like 1 minute right now. Like, do you want, and again, the Nicolay Law Fan Talking Text line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Do you want the Bucks to make a move to trade into the first round? Do you want the Bucks to be relevant? Or do you just want the Bucks to make a trade today to be relevant in the NBA landscape? And of course, I mentioned this in the atmosphere of what the Celtics have done the past 2 days. Jason Tatum goes out. He's out for most of next year, if not all of next year. And so they trade Drew Holiday. They trade Kristaps Porzingis. They focus on getting a little younger, a little more athletic, and also shedding salary. How do the Bucks do that? Why do I have to keep watching the Celtics make right decisions and do things the right way? Where like I want the Bucks to do the same thing, and I know the Bucks can do that same or similar things. I don't know, but maybe not.
I just think the value for Drew Holiday and Kristaps, regardless of what you have gotten out of them the last 2 years,
is not the same as Bobby and Pat. Is that what you're telling me?
Is much higher.
Yeah, you're right.
Much higher.
That's a good
or
point.
Brooke Lopez or anyone.
Or Kuzma.
Yeah, there's 0%.
Tommy,
yeah.
You're not supposed to be the logical one on the show.
I know, and I like to not
you
be.
You just
but
went logic on me.
Yeah, I can't believe, like, Kristaps, the Kristaps Porzingis trade is so weird because it's like, oh, that's totally not enough for peak Kristaps Porzingis.
Right.
But then you're going to get traded, and it's like, why did you trade for this guy who never plays for you? Mm-hmm. It's like trading. It was like if you were to trade for Yao Ming back in the day, right?
Right.
Which
like
never happened.
Right.
But
he's never going to play.
I mean, he's a stud when he's on the court, and he's never going to be on the court. So I don't know why you would even think about trading for him. But yet, if you were going to trade for him, seemed like nearly not enough to get Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I mean, they basically got Georges Niang, who's like a decent small forward. Like he's not 2 years ago, or actually this past year, he averaged 10 points, 3.5 rebounds. He shot 40. He's a 39.9% career 3-point shooter. And for Drew Holiday, they got Anthony Simons, who is a scorer. Now, he did it with Portland, so if you average 22 points a game with Portland, what's that like? A 15, 16-point scorer
on a good team?
On a good team.
Right.
But he still can knock down threes. They both bring athleticism. They both bring hustle. And so I want those types of players on the Bucks. As much as like Bobby hustles like he's a step slow, Pat can't get on the court anymore and is making $9 million this year. I just want to see the Bucks. Honestly, I just want to see the Bucks do something, even if it ends up being wrong. Like I don't want Kuzma again, but like I want to see them working to get younger and more athletic. That's what I want to see. This is the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. Skeens and Miz at 110. The NBA draft tonight. Thunder Watch coming up here on the Mason Crosby Show.
thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
This is the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles. If you're on the YouTube channel, you just saw the best dancing and lip syncing of all time. You're welcome. That will continue. We are presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. It is time for Thunder Watch here. When Mason's gone, it's not Mason's extra points to end the show. It is Thunder Watch. Mr. Thomas K.W. Wirtz. What do you got for me?
Thunder Watch, Luke Fickell, Elton Jenkins, the two newest additions. Luke Fickell just returning, obviously.
Yep.
Doc Rivers, Kyle Kuzma, John Horst, Jimmy Haslam, Joey Ortiz, and Trevor McGill also were on the last edition.
Okay.
I think McGill actually was removed, and that was a mistake. But Joey Ortiz was on it, and we almost were like, hey, not even relevant enough to be put on this list.
Yep.
But then we put him on the list, and he's the best player in baseball since we did that.
So what do you think?
I think we should just keep him on.
Do you think we should keep him on?
Just keep him on for the vibes.
Right.
Don't take him off.
Right.
Don't mess it up.
I agree.
But keep Joey Ortiz on just to be like, hey, we should all watch you play well now, too, instead of watching what you're doing.
Instead of watching struggles, let's watch successes.
Yeah.
Let's stack those successes. Yeah, I kind of want to put like Ortiz and Durbin as like the power dynamo at the 8-9 spot.
I mean, Jared Koenig definitely should be on Thunder Watch.
Jared.
Just need to be a better lefty out of the pen right now if you're going to be the lefty out of the pen right now.
Does he need to be the lefty out of the pen? And we only have like a minute or two left here. Or should Hall or Ashby morph into that role as the lefty out of the pen?
Ashby absolutely could. DL Hall got really roughed up last time out. But I do think that Aaron Ashby, when his stuff is on, it's gross. He is a stud. I think he'll make a start this season for Milwaukee at some point, too. I think he'll be one of those opener-type positions for a Quinn Priester game or something along those lines eventually at some point. But 3 innings, 6 strikeouts his last time out 2 days ago when they lost to Pittsburgh in game 1 of the series.
Yep.
I mean, he kept him in it. He kept him in it the whole time.
He definitely did.
Yeah.
Yep. Jared Koenig. I mean, the obvious one to me is the guy we've been talking about for the past week and a half is Chad Patrick.
Yeah, that's a great one, too.
I don't know that I want to put him on. Let's put Chad Patrick on.
Okay.
But let's can you in gray write Jared Koenig's name there? So it's he's not officially on it, but we want to remember to talk about him next week because, unless he's 3 scoreless appearances, he very easily could find his way.
I'm just going to put
Watch.
maybe Jared.
Yeah, maybe Jared. I like that. Yeah. Let's put Chad Patrick on. We're keeping Joey on, but we're keeping Joey on for the vibes.
Right.
For the good reasons. And McGill's off. He was off last week, and I think he's still off. Everybody else is still on. And listen, I played pickleball against John Horst last Thursday night, and he's a great guy. But like I've been talking about all today, I want the Bucks to do something. I want to feel a positive vibe from the Bucks, and I feel no vibe. I don't feel a negative vibe from them right now. I just feel no vibe. I want to feel positive about the vibe. That's all. That's all I want. Does that make sense?
I understand. Yeah, okay. You want your indifference to be gone.
Yep. Mason's back tomorrow. Have we heard back from Camille yet?
Not yet.
So we're efforting,
but we should. I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
Yeah. We're
efforting Camille Davis for tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we'll have Steve Novak on the show tomorrow as well. There's a Badger Marquette celebrity softball game going on in Oconomowoc this weekend. So we'll talk to Steve about that tomorrow. And Camille will break down round 1 of the draft and look ahead to round 2 and see what's going on there. And then, of course, we'll probably have 17 more NIL stories to talk about with Mason tomorrow as well. My thanks to Chris Miller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, for jumping on. Remember, 1:10 p.m. today. It's the Miz versus Skeens, so that means at noon today, it's the leadoff show with Tommy, getting us ready for that game. Should be great, Skeens and the Miz. And round 1 of the NBA draft tonight, Bucks are not involved as of now, but that doesn't mean lots of trades don't happen between now and then and over the next couple days and the next week before we have John Horst on the show some point next week. He promised, so he'll be on. My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. We are the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the number 1 network in Milwaukee, live from the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.